Warm greetings to you, dear learners. Welcome to today's lesson on narrative essay writing, part 1, which will focus on the features of a narrative essay, pre-writing strategies, and a few narrative techniques. Telling stories is an integral part of human life. A narrative essay records our oral tales in a written form and can be based on personal experiences or fictional incidences. Central to the narrative essay writing is the writer's perspective with the aim of entertaining, engaging, or enlightening the reader by either conveying a message or illustrating a theme. At the end of this short video, you will be able to understand the features of a narrative essay, employ different narrative techniques, and compose a narrative essay. So, what is a narrative essay? A narrative essay, unlike other pieces of writing, is typically narrated from a subjective perspective, given that it relies heavily on personal experiences, reflections, feelings, and series of events. It simply refers to the sequencing or representation of a particular event or a series of occurrences. It is important to be original and to sustain your individual voice as the narrator. To write gripping and creative narratives, you must consider the following features: characters, setting, plot or storyline, voice, verb tenses, structure, dialogue, descriptions, exposition, conflict, climax, and resolution. To ensure that your storyline is engaging, captivating, and interesting, you are advised to follow the narrative arc, also known as the story arc. When you write a narrative essay, your opening, also called the exposition, exposes and introduces the setting, time, context, and characters involved. This narrative hook aims at grabbing your reader's interest. The story and the characters can be developed through a situation that escalates until the climax is reached. The climax refers to the most important moment where the conflict and tension are at their peak in your story. Your reader understands that the conflict reaches its highest point of action. Sometimes you can create suspense or a particular mood in your story. The falling action happens when characters deal with the consequences of the climax, and you begin to guide your reader towards the ending of the story. Ultimately, the resolution is the last stage where you bring the storyline to a closure either by solving the problem, providing some food for thought, or mentioning the morale of the story. So, dear students, for you to produce an engaging story, you need to carefully plan the various parts that comprise your story arc. Remember, the purpose of narrative essay writing is to tell a story. We'll now have a look at a few pre-writing strategies. Before you embark on your writing, you need to plan your essay. Brainstorming is an effective pre-writing strategy to reflect on the key terms in the title and to plan your ideas. Decide about the genre of your narrative. For example, whether it is a mystery, fantasy, fairy tale, horror, etc., depending on the question. Decide about who your characters are going to be. You can create characters from scratch, or you can be inspired by real people. While brainstorming, remember to create an appropriate setting, which means that you set the place and time of your story. After that, choose your narrative voice. You could select a first-person narrative or a third-person narrative. A first-person narrative means using an I persona, whereas a third-person narrative views the whole story from a third person's perspective. Pronouns or the main character's name can be used. Now, think about what the main event is going to be. That is, what is the conflict and how it will be resolved. If you take all these into consideration, you are sure to hook your readers. Our topic for today is write a story about a theft that someone witnessed in your school. As the theft is the heart of the narrative, you need to create an appropriate context to set the story, the time, and the tone to add more effect to the main event. For example, the theft takes place on a rainy and gloomy morning in the school library. The main action here remains the theft, which you will develop. The main characters in the story are the witness and the thief. The main problem or conflict revolves around the theft. In this case, the thief is stealing books from the school library. As the story unfolds, mention how the witness confronts the thief. You can use an I persona who might be the witness, or use a third-person narrator, he, she, they, who will narrate the story. The main incident is the theft. Therefore, think about an effective tone and mood. For instance, you might create an element of suspense, mystery, and fear in the story. You have now generated your key ideas and are ready to narrate your story. For this, you need a few narrative techniques. There are many narrative techniques that can enhance your writing. For instance, you can use dialogues. Dialogues in narrative essays add depth, authenticity, and engagement to the storytelling and gives your story a realistic touch. Your dialogues need to be natural, authentic, and need to advance the narrative or reveal something significant about the characters or the storyline. Speech marks should also be used to make the dialogue clear and easy to follow. Let's look at an excerpt where dialogues have been used. Peering through a slightly ajar door, Emily witnessed the unthinkable, a theft taking place right before her eyes. "I can't believe my eyes. A theft in our school," mumbled Emily. The culprit, adorned in a dark hoodie, was swiftly rummaging through the shelves, snatching books. Emily knew she had to act quickly to protect her school. "Oh God, I need to act fast," Emily uttered in a concerned voice. Summoning her courage, Emily burst into the library and confronted the intruder. Startled, the thief dropped the stolen books and attempted to flee. But Emily was determined not to let him escape. With a swift move, she blocked the exit, preventing the thief from leaving. Through the first dialogue, the student has successfully brought out that the character, Emily, stands in disbelief when she witnesses the unbelievable, while the second exclamatory sentence evokes Emily's urgency to act. Exclamation marks used in the dialogue reinforce the shock that strikes Emily at that specific moment. Through this dialogue, the reader has an insight into her strong emotions. Here, the writer advances the storyline by introducing tensions experienced by the witness. A flashback is another narrative technique commonly used in storytelling, where the sequence of events is interrupted to provide an insight into past experiences, memories, or events. Flashbacks shift the narrative focus to specific times in the past. Let's have a look at how a student has used flashback in an essay. The Sunshine Academy celebrated Emily as a hero, expressing their gratitude for her quick thinking and bravery. The incident brought them closer, reinforcing their commitment to creating a safe and secure learning environment. As time passed, the memory of the theft slowly faded, but the lesson learned remained ingrained in the hearts and minds of the students. Traveling back to that eventful day, students and teachers fondly remembered the chaotic yet triumphant scene when Emily fearlessly confronted the thief, uniting the entire school in a shared sense of purpose. Sunshine Academy continued to thrive with a newfound sense of resilience, knowing that they were capable of overcoming any challenge that came their way. Words and phrases like traveling back to that eventful day, and remembered, infer that the narrator is about to refer to actions that have taken place in the past. Dear students, remember that care should be taken not to disrupt the flow of the story or confuse the reader with excessive or disjointed flashbacks. Well, this brings us to the end of today's lesson on narrative essay writing part 1. I recommend that you watch the video on narrative essay part 2 for some more interesting storytelling techniques.